All right, y'all give it up for Blaze. Y'all give it up for Morgan. Good stuff. I never say hello, but hellos to all those watching online. Let's give it up for our remote staff. Well done. You know, holler to you guys for wearing PJs right now. And let's give it up for our Lawrenceburg crew. Danielle, Riley, welcome to the meeting. You're here with us. We can feel you here. All right, so this week we're switching gears a little bit. As you can tell by the background, it's different. So we're doing a different topic. Last week we talked about, anybody remember? That's right, ownership mentality. Great job. So just like every week, we're going to start with a little question. And I want you to answer the question, what's one problem you noticed? Get it, partner up with somebody. And did you act? If you didn't, it's totally fine. Just try to dialogue why or why not. What's one problem you found? And did you act? And of course, the very ambient, lo-fi music will be playing in the meantime. Take it away, Lawrenceburg. Take it away, at-home crowd. I know that home crowd. I know you guys were doing some stuff. I was getting texts all day about fixing problems. Camry, you were one of them. Definitely Caitlin. Caitlin's. And the Elberg crew. Danielle, haven't heard from you in a while. Honestly, kind of miss the interaction. Hope you're doing well. It's definitely you two pairing off, Danielle and Riley right now. What's a problem that you've noticed in Lawrenceburg? What's going on there? Are you getting them ironed out? Making some changes? I hope so. I hope so. Here's a little announcement. Blaze, we're going to have to change this music. I'm about to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. Get a little more poppy, you know? Like that background music that was in that countdown video. Show the countdown video again. I don't know. People thinking through their problems, talking about issues. Subtitles. That is, I was thinking it. Can't hear the sound. That's right. I'm talking to the at-home crew, you know, because they're by themselves. They don't have anybody to partner with. I'm talking to Caitlin, talking to Camry, talking to Julie. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Did you find some problems? Did you identify some issues? Caitlin had a great one. She was like, you know what? We need subtitles on the screen. You know, we probably do, because sometimes, all the time at the current moment, you can't hear sound at home. While you guys were talking, I was talking to the Lawrenceburg crew in the mic, so they could feel like they were engaged. And also the at-home crowd, too. So, this week, we're transitioning into adaptive leadership. Now, some of you are listening to that phrase and thinking to yourself, this doesn't apply to me. Because I don't want to be a leader. I want nothing to do with adaptive leadership. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to answer that first question that everybody has. Why should I care? Why should I care about any of this? 3 big reasons today. Your experience at work is shaped by who's in charge. Anybody ever had a bad boss? You're like, I'm looking at one. I'm just good leaders equal clear expectations. And great workplaces don't happen by accident. So what I want you to understand is that whether or not that you want to lead, your input shapes that leadership. Your input makes a difference. You have to have the confidence to say, this isn't clear, or the confidence to say, I don't like how you said that, or the confidence to say, hey, I really enjoyed that, and I want more of that. Being confident in encouraging or giving your leadership feedback in the best way. So, what happens in weak leadership? Well, I'm sure some of you experience this. You get a little confusing expectations, right? Maybe a little bit of miscommunication. Frustration, burnout. That can definitely happen in weak leadership. I'll give you an example. I've had plenty of opportunity to be this way. When I was in residency, Residency is the part after medical school. You finish your 4 years of med school, and then you move into this really high labor-intensive part of your training where you spend hours at the hospital covering call, learning how to do the specialty that you're training for. And it leads to some fatigue mentally. Well, I came home one night around 7 o'clock. Dinner was ready. I had very small children. And you're going to be surprised, but they decided tonight was the night they were not going to eat their dinner. And I had this much capacity for it. So most people would say the wise thing in that situation to do would be like, hey, guys, can you please eat your dinner? If you don't, that's okay, but no dessert. And then those children would be like, yes, Father, what a great input that is. We will gladly finish our dinner. I didn't say those words. No, it sounded something more like this. If you don't finish that dinner that your mother cooked you, I'm going to take that plate. I'm going to crumble it in front of you. There'll be, and I'm starting to raise my voice. There'll be no snacks. There'll be no desserts. There'll be no fun. No iPads. Whoa, Dad. And my wife lovingly said, hey, come over here for a second. Hold on, kids. I've got to go have a meeting with your mother. That's probably a little too harsh. And I'm like, they're 3 years old. They don't. That's not rubbing off on them. They're not even catching the vision there. So I look at the kids and I'm like, you're fine. Eat your dinner. We go about our way. Well, I'm putting the kids to bed, and I've got a 5-year-old and I've got a 3-year-old and I have a baby. I'm walking by the 3-year-old's room. It's a hallway, very small house. And I catch out of the corner of my eye, my 3-year-old has all of his stuffed animals on the bed in front of him. And I walk in here and I start to listen, and he's making motion toward the stuffed animals. And he can barely speak, but this is what he's saying to these stuffed animals. There'll be no snacks, there'll be no dinner, there'll be no fun if you don't finish your dinner. And so obviously my leadership was rubbing off on those stuffed animals. And so that's honestly what I'm trying to communicate to you, that weak leadership, people that are burnt out, people that don't have good, clear communication, that just falls down the line. That just goes from the one person to the next person. Even when we think, gosh, I should have communicated that better, that's not going to make a big difference in the long run. It can really make a difference because our attitudes and our actions really affect the outcomes. So the opposite of that is what happens with strong leadership? What happens when we have really, really clear? Now, I'm not talking about adaptive leadership yet. I'm just talking about really clear, strong leadership. I don't know how many people in this room have had a really demanding coach in athletics. Raise your hand if you have. So almost everyone at some point. My basketball coach in high school was very, very a strong leader. He was really, really good at breaking clipboards. Honestly, a savant. He could throw a clipboard up in the air and then just bah, and it would shatter in a million pieces. I think he bought wooden clipboards intentionally because he wanted us to admire how good his karate skills were. One time, this very strong leader who would scream at us, I feel like he thought we all had some sensory or hearing loss because his volume of communication was always very, very he wasn't ever here. Hey guys, let's run this play. It was, let's run this play. And we were we're in the locker room. Why are we screaming? One time, to my and my team's chagrin, he was very angry at me, personally. Shocking. I wasn't the best basketball player. I know, shocking. And I was supposed to pick or roll or pass. I don't know what it was. It was one of those things. Morgan probably know more than I would. And I wasn't doing the right thing. And the coach is screaming at me. And then he asks me a rhetorical question. Does anybody know what a rhetorical question is? It's one that you don't answer. That's correct. So he says, Masterson, do you give a damn? Yes, sir. I give more than one. Oh, he didn't like that answer. He threw his clipboard in the air, and he smashed it. And we all proceeded to run for a long time. That's when I fell in love with running, though. So we can have strong leaders. We can have weak leaders. All of them don't give the outcomes that we can intentionally want, even though the communication is clear. So what I want to talk to you about today is specifically what is adaptive leadership? What is the type of leadership that shifts with the individual that they're leading? that understands the requirement of that person. We don't all learn the same way. Some of us use written language. Some of us are video learners. Some of us have to put our hands in it to figure it out. Some of us need the big why. Some people don't like to be told what to do, but hey, like, let's have a lesson. Tell me what the reason behind this order is, and then I'll do it. Some people are like, I don't want the lesson. Just tell me what to do. We're all across the spectrum, and that's what adaptive leadership is. It's people understanding what needs to be said. I'll give you another example. So for the longest time, personally, I have been involved in worship music at the church. So this has been going like 20 years now. And when I first started, I was part of a really, really aggressive church, very large church, not the one I go to now, but they were very, very into excellence and making sure everything was done well. And hey, that's awesome. Let's praise the Lord for that. Well, one time, I was in the backstage area. We had this very, very gifted vocalist that sang with us. I mean, she was like one of those people that like would probably win American Idol. And I was in the group in the back, and I wasn't singing a solo, but I was just kind of in the background vocals. And she was sitting on a love seat, and her feet were in the chair, and there was only one chair left. And I walked up to that chair, and I said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I sit down?" And she refused to move, and she looked at me, and she said, "Why are you even here? You can't even sing that well." And in that moment, I was like, gosh, maybe I can't sing that well. Maybe I'm not very good. She's really good. Maybe I'm really bad. And that followed me for 5, 6, 7 years. I felt this intentional place in my heart where God was like, hey, I really want you to do this. I think you could be good at this. But this voice in the back of my head was always like, what are you doing here? So that voice followed me onto the stage. It followed me off the stage. It followed me when I was like auditioning for another church. Hey, what are you doing here? And it wasn't until I met one of the most influential worship leaders I'd ever met. His name is Scott. Not the most gifted vocalist, but one time we're sitting in rehearsal, and he said, hey, why do you keep missing that? And that's a chord in a song. And I said, I don't know, I'm trying. And he could tell something was going on with me. Probably didn't know what he was doing at the time, but he said, hey, I want you to know something. You should be here. You're doing a great job, and whatever's going on with you, I want you to understand that you have a lot to give. And in that moment, something changed in me. What changed in me was basically what that person had said to me 5, 6 years ago. Did he know what he was doing in the moment? No. But he just looked at me and said, hey, you should be here. That is what adaptive leadership is. It's not necessarily understanding the entire backstory. He probably didn't even know that person had said that to me at one point. But it was that he said, okay, the problem isn't necessarily that he's missing the same thing over and over again. The problem is that he doesn't believe in himself. So he had enough wherewithal to see that in me and call it out of me. And that made a huge difference. That's adaptive leadership. He didn't scream. He didn't come up to me and go, hey, real quick, just have you read the chord chart? Have you seen the chord chart? Do you know the lyrics very well? Do you agree with the theology of this song? He didn't do any of that. He just did what he thought needed to be done. He was being adaptive in his leadership style. So why is that important? It's important because we need to know how to be adaptive leaders in this organization. And so what I want to talk to you a little bit about today is something I'm really, really excited about, something we've been talking about here for a while. And that is this book right here. This, if you were in orientation recently or you've been around me at all in the last year, is something called the Forward Curriculum. So if you know our critical actions, for our employees, for the team members in this place, it's to feel like you belong and to know the way forward. So this is Forward. What the purpose of this curriculum is to equip you to understand more about yourself, and to understand how that part of yourself translates to your long-term vision. More about yourself and how that translates to your long-term vision. It may be that you're going to be a leader or a manager someday. It may be that you're going to be a better allergy nurse. It may be that you're going to be one of the head people in this place. It may be that you're going to transition out of this company and go to a different one and run in a different organization with a different position. The purpose of this is to give you a clear path forward. So, how does that work? Number one, this matters to everyone Because if you are interested in forward development, or you look at yourself and say, hey, I'm interested to understand where I could fit in the long run in this place, the first thing you have to understand is, does that fit in with you? And that's what this will answer for you. You also get to understand what your role would actually be in a leadership position. One of the things that I have seen in the short time I've been here, and even before working here or leading here, is that a lot of us have this idea in our hearts that is, once I've been in a place for a while, it's time for me to take a step into management, right? That's somewhere inside of us for some reason, and it's not always the best option. Two things I think of when I hear that. Number one, there are other things you can do to go forward besides stepping into management. And number two, some people, based on their history, don't think they're qualified for management. Both of those are equally untrue. So the goal of this is to equip you with a standardized process for development. So some practical parts of this is really asking yourself, what kind of leadership do you want to see here? What kind of leadership is important to you as a team member? Is it the adaptive leadership style, which is the most healthy, that helps you understand the why behind what we're doing? In order to understand that, in order to understand how you fit into this, this is helpful. Pragmatically, this is a 16-week study at lunchtime that you'll get to participate in with a leader. I'm actually going to get to lead the first one, which I'm really excited about. But in the next week or so, even potentially sooner than that, anybody who's interested in that, who has been here longer than 6 months, can sit back and participate in this. And this is going to allow you to really dig in to see, is this something that I want to do? You get to read a chapter, understand yourself a little bit more, and then use those principles real time in the clinic to see if this is something you'd like to do. Because it forces you to execute the style of leadership that is most effective: adaptive leadership, empowering leadership. So I want you to take a couple of minutes, and I want you to answer the question, first in your head and then on paper, is, do I see leadership for myself? Yes or no? And regardless of the answer to that question, what is it that you want to see in the type of leadership here, even if that's for you or if that's not for you? Or what kind of leader do you want to be led by? So answer the first question, is that me, is that not me, in your head? And then on paper, what kind of leadership do you want to see here? Let's see if we have a 2-minute timer. We do. Look at that. Amazing. Welcome back. Lawrenceburg. Welcome back. At home crowd. This is not a partnered exercise. You could take your time. I feel like we should have a communication thread among the at-home crowd where I could see what you're thinking, see what you're saying. It could be like a dialogue box. I bet Blaze can see it. So you could give comments, thoughts, processes, systems. I feel like part of this music, if you can't hear it right now, it's kind of like it's like what I'd hear in a spa. I kind of feel like I'm in a spa right now. It's so hot in here. No, this is an independent exercise. You can talk, but mostly independent. You absolutely can talk. You totally can. Mix and mingle. Here it comes, everyone. 10 seconds. I'm actually forming a deeper relationship with the people at home right now. And the people in Lawrenceburg. Awesome. Okay, so what kind of leadership do you want to see here? That's the answer. That's the question we need answered. And my final question to you today is, why don't you become that leader? What's stopping you from doing it? Nothing you need to answer today. But I would implore you that this is going to begin almost immediately. So if it's something you're interested in, I invite you to be part of that. As long as you've been here for 6 months, talk to your direct supervisor, and we'd love to get you involved. Also, if you're currently a leader here, definitely want you to participate in this curriculum so that you can help guide, change, because I guarantee you there's a lot that we can discover together that would improve this book. So appreciate you very much, and I'm going to pray us out, and then we'll go into our individual meetings. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this group. God, I pray that you would give us wisdom and vision as we continue to grow as an organization. Those who feel called to lead this organization, I pray you'd put that calling in a double portion inside of them. And Lord, I pray that as we continue to treat patients the rest of the week, that we would just be wise as we execute the plans you have for them, and that we would continue to walk in wisdom in the plans you have for us as an organization. It's in your Son's name we ask all these things. Amen. Thank you so much. Have a great meeting.